Today, we're going to discuss how our own brain and consciousness make personal finance so challenging. By understanding how your brain and consciousness interact, will help you understand why you need a game plan for creating long-term financial success. But first, my name is Jeff Hulett. I'm a decision confidence builder. I lead Personal Finance Reimagined, a decision-making and financial education platform. I teach personal finance at James Madison University and provide personal finance seminars. I wrote the book, Making Choices, Making Money, Your Guide to Making Confident Financial Decisions. Much of what we're going to discuss today comes from psychology, behavioral economics, and neurobiology. These are the essential foundations for personal finance. This presentation owes so much gratitude to Thomas Bayes, Stanislas Dehaene, Eric Hoel, Anil Seth, Daniel Kahneman, Iain McGilchrist, Jill Bolte Taylor, and so many others. What if all available sensory information was accessed by our consciousness at once? This would be like going to Google and being able to see everything Google sees. It would be cool at first. We would have that sense of being omniscient. But very quickly, we would get overwhelmed and confused without prioritization and attention. We would find the world as being completely chaotic and overwhelming. All that information presented at once would become noise. The noise of overwhelming information is much the way the color white is the combination of all colors, but those individual colors are unable to be perceived. You remember Roy G. Biv from grade school science class? Information noise is just like white noise. In a world where all information is available at once, that information would become white noise and would cease to have value because of our inability to discriminate that information. In order to process the massive amounts of available information, our brain must prioritize that which we have conscious access to as a small subset of all that available information. Why do we have cognitive biases or other reasoning errors? These are the disconnections between what is true in the world and how we attend to information in our world. It is the difference between perception and reality. It starts with the idea that our brain is a prediction machine. There's simply too much information for our brain to handle at once. Our brain must make attention shortcuts to provide conscious access to a subset of all information. Our brain naturally creates a prediction of what it expects. This is called a top-down prediction. When additional information presents itself, this top-down prediction helps guide which information we will attend to. Our brain compares the top-down model to the new sensory information and makes error corrections. This is called the bottoms-up sensory information. It's like a dance between the top-down and the bottoms-up, where each partner has impact on the final perception the brain considers true, at least for the moment. By the way, this process or dance was formally theorized by Thomas Bayes over 200 years ago. His approach is known as Bayesian inference. Today, neuroscientists and consciousness researchers recognize Bayesian inference as a model of how our brain and consciousness interact. Now, let's dig into the process. Our brain starts with its current understanding, observed from the past. This is the top-down model that was previously formed by prior bottoms-up information. It then adds new sensory information from the bottoms up and updates the existing top-down perspective to create a new, fuller understanding. But if it could only be. that easy. In practice, our brain and consciousness rarely follow this straight line path. The world is full of uncertainty, dynamism, and regularly changing. As a result, that happy path to full understanding is almost never a straight line. Because of this, our brains are naturally impacted by errors. The first error is called an error of commission. This is where our brain receives more information moving down that left axis. But that information is wrong, so it does not improve our understanding of the world. It doesn't move that top axis. When new information is inaccurate, that's why that top-down perspective does not change, even though we may be fooled into believing it did change. Fake news, from a political standpoint, is an example of information causing an error of commission. The next error is called an error of omission. This is where our brain does not receive more information, though more information exists to make a fuller understanding of the world. So we rely upon that existing information and confirm our top-down model as if that our information does not exist. This is also known as confirmation bias. Our Bayesian dance is ongoing and full of bias and noise that may cause us to stray from the happy path leading to a full understanding. The challenge is staying on or not straying far from the happy path. Another challenge is updating our understanding once we realize we are off the happy path. To understand the essential challenge of staying on the happy path, next, let's discuss how our brain promotes sensory input to our consciousness. Imagine you're on a hiking trip. You come across a beautiful valley at the perfect time of day when the sun reflects the valley and clouds provide a beautiful view. This is your perception based on your error-corrected conscious access. But this conscious access view is the end of a cognitive process, not the beginning. Next, we'll explore the top-down and bottom-up process to reach this conscious access, but we're going to go back to the beginning. Just as you enter the valley to come across a different view, your brain started with a top-down model. This is not the actual information sensed by your brain. This is a predicted image based on forecasts from your brain's top-down expectations. This is only one part of your brain's error correction process before you are provided conscious access. First off, how is the top-down model made? It's pretty much the aggregation of our past experiences and our powerful genomic priming. So the top-down model of a beautiful valley starts with prior expectations. Those priors include the expected colors of a valley, the typical geography and shapes of the valley, how water usually flows, the expected formations of clouds, how we were brought up in our homes to regard nature, and many other priors. Our powerful genetic priming includes how nature helps us survive and may provide food or shelter, the dangers of wild animals and other predators, our ability to connect with others on our hiking trip, and the dangers of people from other tribes. So this is our starting point, generated from our environment and genome. Our brain has interrogated our long-term memory, plus consulted how we weigh or value all these different top-down inputs. Even our mood will impact the weighting. Now, let's transition to another part of how your brain builds on this top-down view. It now brings in that bottoms-up information perceived by your senses. It turns out our senses are more limited than you may think, but you would not know your sensory limits because the raw sensory information is mostly subconscious. We do not get to see how the sausage is made. First, your eyes are convex. This curvature means the center is larger and more focused than the edges of your visual field. Next, your eyes are not as sharp. Your visual field is more pixelated and not as focused. Then, the ocular nerve is in the center of our eyes. This creates a blind spot. Plus, your blood vessels create squiggles throughout your visual field. On the left side is our top-down model, sensory information modeled by our brain as a starting point. It brings in our powerful environmental history and our genomic predispositions. On the right side is the actual sensory information available to update our brain's top-down starting point. The updating process is the potential for error. This is why people often have different perspectives. Just think about how different that top-down and bottoms-up information could be for different people or even for the same person over time. Conscious access is what reconciles the bottoms-up and top-down via a Bayesian error correction process. Conscious access is what reconciles the bottoms-up and top-down via a Bayesian error correction process. The essential point is that all that work done to identify, recover, evaluate, and reconcile your top-down model to bottoms-up sensory information is mostly done in your subconscious. You only perceive the view called conscious access. In decision-making, we need to create and maintain a consistent, repeatable decision process for a lifetime of great decisions. Personal finance decisions are especially susceptible to the errors created between what we know we should do, like save, but it's very difficult to do because of the biases naturally present in the interaction between brain and consciousness. Next, let's discuss personal finance as a highly relevant example of how the difference between top-down and bottoms-up information can get us in trouble. Our starting point top-down model is to spend and not save. Also, our starting point is to be in social groups. This spend and socialize starting point is because and is based upon our evolution. Our brains are wired to protect ourselves by accumulating resources today and to seek the protection of social tribes. This top-down model is our personal finance default condition. It does not help that large consumer organizations encourage a culture of easy money to make it easy to spend now. The brand messages about products and loans are everywhere. Earlier, we discussed the struggle to stay on the happy path because of the reasoning errors. This is the big challenge with personal finance. Behavioral psychology has identified the cognitive bias called availability bias as the naturally occurring brain condition that could lead to overconsumption or overspending. Immediate availability and attention was a useful protective instinct many centuries ago, and in a time with more existential threats from wild animals and disease. But today, that preset top-down model is just no longer as necessary. Personal Finance Reimagined is all about the happy path. We provide content, videos, and apps to help people create a consistent, repeatable decision process for a lifetime of wealth and health. For a young person just starting out, we show them the path to achieve $16 million for retirement. It is very doable over 40 years. But we know what we are up against. It is our own neurobiology reinforced by consumerism that makes it very difficult for the bottoms-up information to impact that top-down model. While the learner's bottom-up sensory information suggests to save and reap $16 million for retirement, that learner's top-down model is sending completely conflicting spend now messages. PFR emphasizes habits, behaviors, tools, and commitment devices to help learners impact their powerful preset top-down model. Habits will allow you to overpower the initial top-down model default state. Good habits create a new wealth-generating top-down model. For more information, please see our website at financerevamp.com. Our mission provides a consistent, repeatable decision process for a lifetime of wealth and health. Thanks for your interest, and you've got this.